Assalamualaikum and good morning. I'm news reporter PUTERI LYDIA from channel 120 Eco News. We'll bring you the highlight about Jamaica. Jamaica is an island country of the West Indies. After Cuba and Hispaniola, it is the third largest island in the Caribbean Sea. Jamaica is about 235 km long and varies from 35 to 82 km wide. The national capital of Jamaica is Kingston. As of Friday, December 27, 2024, based on weathermeter elevation of the latest United Nations data, the current population of Jamaica is 2,838,146. Jamaica economy is mixed but increasingly based on services, especially for tourism and financing. Jamaica is a Caribbean paradise known for its stunning beaches like Montego Bay. What is the inflation issue going on Jamaica right now? We will discuss in more detail about the issue of inflation that was happening in Jamaica. Now, our outdoor reporter NASHIRAH is going to explain about definition and data of inflation in Jamaica. You can proceed, NASHIRAH.
Thank you, Lydia. Next, the Bank of Jamaica tracks inflation using several methods, with the annual point-to-point measure as the legal benchmark for assessing monetary policy. This approach compares prices year over year, ensuring consistency and minimizing seasonal effects. From 2002 to 2024, Jamaica's inflation averaged 8.35%, peaking at 26.49% in 2008 due to global shocks and dropping to a low of 1.60% in 2016. Recent trends show a steady decline, with inflation falling from 4.90% in October 2024 to 4.30% in November 2024. These figures reflect the BOJ's effective measures to stabilize prices, protect purchasing power, and support economic growth. This is NASHIRAH reporting live for Eco News. Back to studio.
Thank you, NASHIRAH. Next, AMIRA is going to talk about types and cause of inflation in Jamaica. You can proceed, AMIRA.
Thank you, Lydia. Inflation in Jamaica can be explained by several causes. One of the type is demand pull inflation, which occurs when the demand exceeds supply, causing the business to raise the prices. This happens when the government increases spending or people have more income to spend, such as through investment in social programs or infrastructure. Another type is cost push inflation, which happens when production costs rise, forcing businesses to increase prices. In Jamaica, this is often caused by higher prices for imported raw materials and oil. If wages rise drastically, businesses may pass this cost to consumers, making it harder for families to afford essentials and slowing down economic growth. Finally, monetary inflation occurs when the money supply increases. The Bank of Jamaica manages this through interest rate adjustment and controlling how much money is available. If too much money circulates, a matching increases in goods and services, prices will rise and making it harder for families to afford basic needs and affecting the economy. There are also several factors contribute to inflation in Jamaica. One of it is the exchange rate. When the Jamaican dollar loses value against other currencies, imported goods will become more expensive and it could lead to inflation. This is especially concerning since Jamaica imports much of its foods and energy. When the oil prices rise internationally, transportation and production costs will go up for businesses, which then pass down onto the consumers, leading it to the higher prices for goods and services. Additionally, changes in agricultural productivity also could affect food prices. Poor harvest can lead to food shortages and higher grocery prices, while good harvest can lower food prices for consumers to enjoy. This is AMIRA reporting live for Eco News. Back to you in the studio.
Alright, thank you, AMIRA, for the explanation. Now we have economists from Bank of Jamaica, Professor ATIKAH, on the line right now to talk about the impact of inflation in Jamaica.
Thank you for having me. Inflation in Jamaica has become a growing challenge for many families, made worse by the lingering effects of the COVID-19 pandemic and the global ripple effects of the Ukraine-Russia conflict. When the pandemic first hit, it caused widespread job losses, halted tourism, and led to lower demand for services, putting immense strain on the economy. As countries began to recover, a new issue emerged: inflation. Prices for everyday items began to rise, and it became clear that the economic pressure were not easing. For many Jamaican families, especially those with lower incomes, these rising costs were a heavy burden that they could not easily carry. While inflation impact all Jamaica households. The most vulnerable for those already struggling before the pandemic were the hardest hit. A study by Fitzroy Henry found that food prices were the biggest concern for families. Almost every household reported that the cost of food had increased, but it was the lower income families who felt this most acutely. These families were already stretched thin, and inflation pushed them even further into hardship. The study clearly highlighted how inflation deepens existing inequalities, making it even harder for those who were already struggling to get by. Next, to cope with the rising cost of living, many Jamaican households had no choice but to rely on whatever savings they had left, borrow money, or seek help from family members and government programs. Other than that, the effects of inflation are not just about the numbers on a price tag, but they have a real impact on families' well-being. For example, rising food prices have taken up a huge chunk of their income, leaving them to choose between feeding their families and paying for other essential needs. Unfortunately, many families will not recover from these financial strains anytime soon. The most households expect it would take more than a year to return to pre-inflation conditions. This long-lasting economic hardship puts families at risk of serious consequences such as poor health and disturbed education, especially for children who are most vulnerable during times of economic crisis. Lastly, inflation tends to hit those who are already struggling the hardest. Lower-income households spend a larger share of their income on basic goods, so they feel the effects of rising prices the most. As the gap between the rich and the poor widens, many Jamaicans find themselves stuck in a cycle of financial insecurity where each price increase feels like one more harder to overcome. That's all from me.
To control inflation, there are few strategies to control it. One of it is monetary policy and fiscal policy. Now we are going back to Nashirah for her to explain a little bit about monetary policy. You can proceed, Nashirah.
Thank you, Lydia. Next, the Bank of Jamaica employs key monetary policy tools to maintain its inflation target of 4.0 to 6.0%, a range critical for economic stability and growth. The policy interest rate influences borrowing and spending, while open market operations manage liquidity by buying or selling securities. The BOJ also adjusts reserve requirements, controlling the money supply by regulating how much bank must hold in reserve. These actions operate under the full-fledged inflation targeting (FFIT) framework, ensuring inflation remains stable and predictable. Additionally, the BOJ oversees the exchange rate to maintain flexibility and support Jamaica's overall economic development. This is Nashirah, report live for Econews. Back to studio.
Thank you, Nashirah, for the explanation. To explain about fiscal policy, we have AMIRA with economy professor from University of Technology, Jamaica, to give further information.
Thank you for joining us today, Professor Ashley. To start, could you explain what is fiscal policy?
Okay, so fiscal policy also plays a critical role in managing inflation by influencing the balance between government expenditure and taxation. In the context of Jamaica, inflation can be controlled through contextually fiscal policies, such as reducing government spending and increasing taxes, which help to decrease aggregate demand. According to the Economic Commission for Latin American and the Caribbean, ECLAC, such politics are effective in curbing inflation by limiting the amount of money circulating in the economy and preventing demand from outspacing supply, ECLAC 2020. In Jamaica, controlling inflation is crucial to maintain purchasing power, stabilize prices, and create a favorable environment for investment. By implementing fiscal measures that reduces inflationary pressures, the government can ensure economic stability, protect consumer purchasing power, and foster sustainable growth in the long run.
What advice would you recommend to overcome inflation in Jamaica?
Today, with inflation in Jamaica, it is very important to invest in things that hold value like real estate, stocks, or gold. This investment can grow over time and help protect your money. Cutting back on unnecessary spending, using energy-efficient appliances, and buying in bulk can also help save money. Growing your own food or supporting local businesses can reduce costs as well. Another way to cope with inflation is by finding ways to earn extra income, like starting a side business or improving your skills for better job opportunities. If you have a debt, Try to get fixed rate loans to avoid higher interest rates. Supporting local farming and businesses can also help reduce reliance on imported goods that might become more expensive. Using technology to find deals and save money can be very useful, and it is also important to push policies that help stabilize the economy. By investing wisely, cutting costs, and finding extra income, you can better manage inflation.
Thank you very much, Professor Ashley, for your time and thoughts today.
Alright, it's my pleasure. Thank you as well.
Going back to the studio.
That's all for the latest news on Jamaica inflation. Stay with us for more update. Thank you for watching.